Welcome, 3 Point Play Sports. I'm your host, Louis Standridge. Joining me is my co-host, Kyle Verska, who went a sparkling 2-14 last week on his picks. And I gained a massive lead by going 10-6. So you have 15 weeks to make up that gap, Kyle. What do you have to say for yourself?
I really didn't know you were just going to hit me right over the head with it that early.
Let's just rip off the Band-Aid. Go for it.
Jeez. You were like, I'm just going to do an intro and then we'll just get right into it. Instead, you just brought a chair on top of my head.
Yeah, let's get the excitement going.
Well, just hope you never go 2-14. That's all I'm going to say.
It's scary as hell to go on ESPN's Pick'em, which we do here every week. We cover ESPN's Pick'em, how to win your Pick'em league. Obviously, if you went with my picks last week, you would have done a lot better. I actually didn't give your picks out last week, so I don't think anybody suffered your consequences.
Oh, so we didn't even have to announce this. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but no, I feel like it needs to be said because there's going to be some strong positive regression in your favor. I would not be shocked if you went 10-6 this week.
Sure. Yeah, I hope you're happy with what you did last week where we recorded a podcast and then you're like, oh, nobody can hear you. And then you put up your own. And what happened was you made my picks be awful.
Right. Yeah.
So good job by you.
The unannounced ones were awful. As far as our locks go, you keep track of those and you can tell me. I don't think I did too well.
We both went 0-3, which is unsurprising for somebody who went 2-14. But as somebody who went 10-6 and went 0-3, you should be more embarrassed.
It's incredible. My top three confidence picks, I believe I gave out last week, were something like the Eagles and the Chargers, and I don't remember.
Seahawks.
The Seahawks. And I bombed all three, but managed to make it up otherwise.
All three of them lost at home, straight up.
Yeah, pretty brutal.
Yeah. I had Dolphins, Steelers, Chiefs, and was winning that Chiefs one for a long time until, I don't even know, things happened.
I'm telling you, the best thing to take away from last week's pod was the parlay buster theory, which I'm going to echo until... I mean, there's always going to be that one week where there's a strong parlay that hits, but more often than not, the way the theory goes, you're going to have touchdown or more favorite that usually gets teased down to half a point or 1 point. And you run that through 3 or 4 teams on a teaser parlay. That almost never pans out. The odds are strongly that one of those teams are going to lose or not cover. So given the fact that we said that, we have a strong chance of looking. There's, I think, 4 or 5 touchdown plus spreads this week, which means, according to the parlay buster theory, it's a strong chance one of those is going to lose, and that will likely be my pick for upset of the week here at the end of the pod. But let's go ahead and jump into Thursday night, which we are notoriously bad at.
Did you want to recap the rest of last week?
What about the rest of last week?
Well, I'll just continue saying that we were bad. We both had Washington last Thursday, so we're 0-4 starting that off. Dog of 3.5 or more to win outright. I had Dolphins, you had Eagles, both wrong. High scoring team. I had Chargers, you had Browns. You won, that's tied up 1-1. You had Chargers by 14 over Cowboys as a week-to-week bet. I had the Steelers force 2+ turnovers. However, you did win your side bet, which I'm sure was the entire podcast that you did without me, of one of the Ravens or Lions wins.
Yeah, which is a big part of the parlay buster theory. But given no matter how well we do on the weekend, it seems like Thursday nights just evade us. So maybe the key is that we split and then one of us takes a win home. I am going to kick it off. I'll let you take the lead on Thursday night. Panthers at Texans. Texans plus 7.5. David Mills is starting for the Texans. No Tyrod, no Watson. And I got to think if Watson's not even playing in this game, there's no way we see him at all this season. So other than that kind of side story, what do you think about the game?
Well, they can't play Deshaun Watson.
He's not officially been exempted or suspended.
Right, I know, but the social blowback, I think, will be too much.
Right, but that's what I understand is they're just playing it kind of coy, but no matter whether it's indirectly or directly said, I don't think we see him at all this season, and this is as hard of evidence as we will see.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Davis Mills is going to start, and I'm just going to not take a guy in his first start in prime time. So the Panthers have been playing really well. The defense has been, much improved these first 2 weeks. They've played. I don't know what the hell happened to the Saints in week 2. They were a completely different team from week 1. It was very bad. But the Panthers also have played the Jets, so the Jets and then bad Saints, and here's another bad team with the Texans. So I don't think we see the Panthers defense not play well until possibly next week. So I'm going to take the Panthers.
Surprisingly, I think I would have probably been on the Texans if Tyrod was starting.
I would too.
Just because
What would this line have been with Tyrod?
I think. Well, no, I think it started at 4.5 with Tyrod, and then he was ruled out, so it jumped up to 8. So you're on the Panthers. I'm on the Panthers as well. I think we've had
0-6, baby.
Look, we've had 2 underdogs cover the first 2 weeks. Eventually, a favorite has to cover. I don't like it being
road teams.
I don't like it being a road team. That's it. It's either a home team is going to cover or a favorite is going to cover. One of those streaks comes to an end this week. Even with the 8, I'm not really scared off by that because I just think that Panthers defense has looked very impressive handling that Saints offensive line, which in turn dominated the Packers, which, I'm sure we'll get to it, but I'm not as impressed with the Packers defensive line now. But given, transfer, law of transfer of properties, just completely botched.
Transitive properties.
Transitive, there we go. Doesn't matter now, I botched it. But I think this Panthers defense that they spent their entire draft last year on the defense is really starting to come together on top of J.C. Horn this year. Texans defense, Mills. Decent chance we probably see Jeff Driscoll, right? I don't understand why he's not playing. He's definitely the more prepared quarterback. Mills is going to get 1 practice with first team this week. Why not get Driscoll, who's got the experience? So I'll take Panthers. If anything, maybe it's 20-7.
Well, they just drafted Davis Mills this year, right? So
right,
see what you got. Jeff. You know what Jeff Driscoll is.
Oddly enough, this is very, very convenient for a rebuilding team. Given how well Tyrod was playing, they were going to probably win 4 or 5 games at least.
Probably. I agree.
All right, both on the Panthers, so go ahead and take the Texans because that's a loss. On to Sunday early afternoon. Washington, with Taylor Heineke coming off the long rest, 1-1 on the road to face the Buffalo Bills, also 1-1 coming off a 35-0 shutout of the Miami Dolphins. Bills here minus 8.5. The second big spread of the week. Like I said, to start, we've probably got 6 or 7. It looks like damn near half of these games are touchdown spreads. So yeah, this is tough pills to swallow.
Yeah, not a fun looking week here. Obviously, as I said at the top, I loved the Dolphins last week, and some of that had to do with Tua going out. I think it was only 14-0 when he went out.
Yeah,
but that was just an abysmal offensive showing from the Dolphins. I don't know what I don't know what percentage of that goes to the Bills' defense versus the Dolphins' offense. Washington on a long layoff. This is a prove-it game for Washington. Don't get blown out in this game. Obviously, we both like the Bills more than Washington. But a long layoff here against a team that really didn't look very good in week 1 in the Bills. And Josh Allen still didn't play very well last week. So you and I watching that Thursday game, we were texting back and forth is this Washington defense actually good or not? So I think this is the game where we find out kind of what Washington really is. Because we talked in the preseason, I wasn't a huge fan of Fitzpatrick. I don't think Heineke's much different than Fitzpatrick. So I'm going to take Washington getting more than 8. But we've really really got to. This is a prove it game for Washington. Like, if you can keep it close, then we'll feel fine about you. Don't expect them to win this game, but if they can keep it close, I'll feel a lot better about Washington going forward.
See, I think the thing for me is after 2 weeks, 1 week you don't want to overreact. 2 weeks you start to get the smallest sense of what's going on. And I think for me, the offensive struggles with the Bills is one thing, but that's also been, I think, evened out by how good their defense has been. And I think on the other side of that, I think Washington's defense has probably been the biggest letdown of the first 2 weeks. The fact that last week Daniel Jones looked like he was carving them up, and he could have even had another touchdown to Slayton late in that game. I don't know what – I mean, I know a lot of people have pointed out that, look, the defense looked so great because they played bad quarterbacks last year, so I think carry that over and you say, okay, this is really what they are. They're not a top 3 defense. They're more like top 10, top 12. And I think given the fact that the Bills have played some really strong defenses in the first 2 weeks and, seemingly should be able to get to 24, I would say 24 points is probably where I would guess where they end up in this game. But I think their defense is so strong and probably the underlying advantage they have in this game. And Heineke, I just think he's not that good. I think there are definitely a couple of choices that were probably not the best that come with being a younger, inexperienced quarterback. And I think if Washington is going to keep this game close, it's going to be a heavy dose of McKissick and Gibson. And I just don't know if there's a combination between the running game and passing game that gives me any sort of faith in Washington yet, especially if the defense is not going to be that much better than average.
Fair enough. So you're a big believer in Buffalo's defense. Okay.
Yeah, for at least one more week. Next game up.
Unless they're bad, and then I'm not.
I mean, Heineke took a step back from me last week, but despite his decent numbers. Chicago Bears on the road to face Cleveland Browns. Browns here -7.5. They took care of the Texans last week. Fortunately, maybe for them, Tyrod going out. That could have been a massive upset. Bears taking care of Cincinnati last week. I don't know the current status of Andy Dalton, but I have to ask.
If he's healthy. He's starting, man. That's what they're saying.
The other thing for me is the Browns without super reliable Jarvis Landry. He's on IR, but Odell Beckham Jr. may come back this week. It's tough to take the 7.5 and know that the Browns are going to be taking a huge hit like that, but I still think Dalton is so limited offensively. I think I read something that he has only attempted one pass or completed one pass over 15 yards so far this season. That could be wrong, but that's what I read. I think I read. So factoring that in, we haven't seen the Browns defense, this much hyped defense coming into the season, exercise its muscles. And I think this is a good opportunity. So I'm going to take the Browns. I think they, last week was a little bit of a letdown game because they came off that depressing first week against the Chiefs. I think this week we actually see the Browns full to form, even without Landry. Defense takes care of business. Maybe we see second half Justin Fields, but he's maybe not ready yet. I don't know. I don't think we're going to all of a sudden get Fields and he's just going to come in and dominate.
Everything you just said about the Browns is what I said about them last week.
Right.
So,
but they're not coming off the letdown game.
You don't think that letting that Texans team hang around and probably maybe even lose if Tyrod plays the entire game? It's a letdown?
I just think it was hard to get up for the Texans when you hung with the Chiefs. They came back and they beat you. And it's just like, oh, now I have to turn around and get up and play this team that's supposed to be the worst in the league. I don't think they gave it 100% to start that game, and that showed. I think this week it's different.
I'm going to take the Browns as well, but if Fields gets the start, I may be switching.
Wow. Okay.
This is an anti-Dalton pick.
You think we see that kind of that? You notice how the Eagles played drastically better last year once Hurts took over for Wentz, and it's just like the team was so over Wentz's shit.
Well, don't we already have Allen Robinson being like, "What are we doing out here, guys?"
Yeah.
So, yeah, same stuff.
Maybe Dalton's not as unlikable as Wentz, but we'll see. Next game up, Baltimore Ravens 1-1 on the road to face Detroit Lions. 0-2 plus 9.5. We're looking pretty good. First half of Monday Night Football up 17-14, and then just let it slip away. Other than that, the Ravens, I would say, really impressive and MVP level performance by Lamar against the Chiefs. A couple of lucky turnovers, but balance that out with some awful turnovers by Lamar to start the game. Who do you like in this one?
What's the Ravens' mindset right now? Are they just rejoicing over finally getting by the Chiefs after really getting crushed by them the last 3 years, as I detailed on that podcast you lost last week? Big home dog.
Yeah. You shed that weight.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the big home dog with against a team coming off an emotional victory.
Okay, I actually think the Ravens, fairly competent team, usually well-coached team, but I gotta say, opposite of what happened to the Browns in Week 1, I think this is such a confidence builder, especially knowing that Lamar is just capable of taking over the game. I think at a certain point, look, they run the ball as much as almost anybody outside of the Niners or the Browns, and you can definitely run on the Lions team, and you can throw on them if you want to, but given that the Ravens will probably want to run the ball 40 times, they should be able to do that unequivocally against this Lions team. And I think we've kind of seen this is kind of what I thought was going to happen with the Lions coming into the season is they're going to come in, they're going to be feisty, they're going to play with a lot of effort, but I think you're going to start to see more and more limitations of Goff and offensive coordinator Anthony Lynn, and I think they got a little bit figured out in the second half, and the Packers defense is not even that great. So I think the Ravens come in here, and this is really weird because I think I've taken 4 straight favorites, big favorites to start this, which feels very non-contrarian. But I happen to love all 4 of these favorites to start. I just think especially these underdogs are not good. So I don't think any of them can hang. I'm with the Ravens.
There's a reason why they're underdogs of such high points.
Right. And I think, I mean, it's not going to be the case for the whole slate, but I think these 4 in particular will all be dominant performances. Next game up, the Indianapolis Colts plus 5.5 on the road to face Tennessee Titans. Colts, of course, lost last week. They made it a game with the Rams towards the end. Lost Wentz to 2 sprained ankles. Titans, of course, impressive win last week, coming back on the Seahawks and taking care of business in overtime. Derrick Henry looking like a beast once again. I believe he had 35 carries last week, which that guy...
it's a monster.
Just continuing to defy the analytics. I am taking... First dog of the week, I'm taking the Colts plus 5.5. I think their defense is still pretty good. I think this Titans offense made me eat my words last week in their limitations offensively, but I think we've seen this play out before last year. Obviously different without Phillip Rivers this year, but I think they'll be able to staunchly stop the run of the Titans, limit that, make them look more like they did in Week 1, and I think alternatively we're going to see the Colts be able to do whatever they want offensively. I really just think the Seahawks maybe got way too in their head. I don't really know. Maybe it's a ton of people way smarter than me can probably break down that fourth quarter and overtime, but it seemed like a lot of stupid decisions on that coaching staff. I think the Colts will be able to play a competent game and be good enough defensively. I understand it probably might be Jacob Eason, but just run the ball 40 times.
Yeah, you can have no ankles Wentz or Jacob Eason. I'm I'm gonna take the Titans, which have or who have the best of the four units in this game. Their offense is better than anything else. Colts have, I mean, credit to them for putting up some fight last week when it really looked like it could have gone south when they got down to the one, couldn't score with Taylor, then threw an interception on a shovel pass and just a disaster down there. And I think they got turned away at the one twice, or certainly inside the five, I think. So they're a mess right now, and we talked about it a lot that their first 5 games are going to be really brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And now if they're starting Jacob Eason, it's even worse. So I'm going to take the Titans to kind of reassert themselves at the top of that division.
I feel like now is a good time to point out that it's almost too chalk to just take. What are we gonna have? 4 backups playing this weekend? I forgot who's out. I know. So we're getting Mills already on Thursday night. Eason on this game more than likely, unless Wentz. I don't even know how you walk on crutches with 2 bad ankles. And then who else? I thought there was 1 or 2 more.
Dolphins.
The Dolphins, possibly with Brissett, and I thought there was 1 more. I know there's a late report about Derek Carr being hurt, but I'm assuming he's going to play. So maybe just the 3 quarterbacks. All right, so we're split.
Well, I mean, Heineke obviously, but he started last week.
Yeah,
too.
I just meant new backups this week. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're split on that. I'm Colts. You're Titans. No locks yet. Next game on the slate: Los Angeles Chargers 1-1 on the road to face Kansas City Chiefs, also 1-1. Chiefs are -6.5 home favorites. Kyle, I'll let you take this one to start.
That's a lot of points, man. I mean, Chiefs coming off a loss are a good bet straight up, but everybody feels good about the Chargers. That was just a bizarre game from the Chargers last week against the Cowboys. They were doing whatever they wanted in the first half, but they had the 2 interceptions. I think I'm going to take the Chargers because that Chiefs defense has been really bad. And the Chargers offense should be pretty good. I think they just had an off day last week. I think this is just really too many points for a team as competent as the Chargers. I mean, Chiefs, straight up, I would take that for sure, but 6.5's a lot, especially against a team that played them well twice last year.
Yeah, man, this is the toughest game for me to pick. I think mainly because I default towards the Chargers and getting almost a touchdown in a divisional game between 2 feisty opponents. These games have been close the last couple of years, whether it's Rivers or Herbert. So I'm going to take the Chargers for now, but I reserve the right to switch at a later date. I think mainly because coming in, I thought, okay, this defense for the Chargers could be something, and it's been a fairly big disappointment. I think Derwin James has been one of the highest graded safeties, but because he plays that star role, you can, as a quarterback, as a competent quarterback, we saw that with Prescott, and we'll definitely see it with Mahomes. It almost dictates where you can target the field, depending on if he's coming down into the box or if he's playing up high. And the thing that worries me is the Chargers' running game is starting to get a little exposed in terms of it being weak. I also know that rush defense on the other side of the ball looked damn awful last week against the Cowboys. Question is, will the Chiefs be able to capitalize? Because I think if they can, I don't see them ever punting in this game. Then that puts the pressure on the Chargers to score every time, and we saw even when they moved the ball last week how that turned out. So I have question marks about this game, but I'll take the 6.5 for now. Next game up, New Orleans Saints 1-1 on the road to face New England Patriots, also 1-1. Patriots -2.5 home favorites. Fairly easy for me. I'm taking the Patriots. I feel like the Saints were one of the more distracting games of week one of the season with their week one performance. I think that's more so a throwaway game. I think we could be a couple weeks away from Taysom Hill starting because Jameis started to revert back to old Jameis last week. And I think the thing is like they're just missing too many offensive. Well, they're missing Michael Thomas, which is the main offensive weapon. And really, once teams know that they're just going to try and run and set up the play action, just stack the box. And if you can stop the run, then I think you can fairly easily stop this offense. Alternatively, I think the secondary is not good after Lattimore, and the Patriots, even with a methodical and safe Mac Jones, should be able to take advantage. So I'll take the Patriots.
Yeah, one thing I remember you saying last week, and, 8 minutes into that game against the Jets, you were like, Belichick's just going to rock. A rookie quarterback does it all the time. And sure enough, Zach Wilson was just in the torture chamber last week with 4 interceptions.
Seeing ghosts.
So I'm going to take the Patriots as well with Belichick to just put Jameis Winston in that same torture chamber. He threw one of just a classic Jameis interception last week, just heaving it up to nobody. I don't know what to make of the Saints. They looked so great in week one, and then last week just looked so bad. So I'm not real sure what to make of them right now. A competent team on both sides of the ball giving up less than a field goal with Bill Belichick as the head coach. I'll take that.
I feel bad because Jameis was bragging about throwing the ball away after week one. And you can tell it's so much in his head. Like, do not turn the ball over. Because despite all the good he can do, he still had that 30-30 season. And it's just, that's what the coaching staff, I'm sure, has spent the last year and a half preaching to him. Just be safe, be safe, be safe. Paid off in week one. As soon as they start to get down and he has to get a little riskier and he wants so badly to win the game, it's just not, I don't think it works out for him. So I don't think the Patriots are the kind of team that they're just going to get up on by 14. But we'll see. Next game up, Atlanta Falcons 0-2 on the road to face New York Giants, also 0-2. So somebody's walking away with a win. Somebody is 0-3, unless, of course, we get a tie. Giants long layoff. Who do you like in this one?
I have no idea. I know that I don't want to watch a single second of this game. The Giants probably should have beaten Washington. I guess, that was a 1-point win by Washington. Is that right? They kicked a field goal as time expired to win by 1.
Yeah.
Atlanta's looked so brutal. I mean, they were down 4 or 3 or 4 in the fourth quarter there, and then Matt Ryan throws back-to-back interception touchdowns to the same guy, which is pretty incredible. I really hate the Giants, but this is like the time where, like, we've rebuilt the offense. It's going to be good. We've given Daniel Jones everything he needs to succeed, and he played pretty well against Washington. He had that one long touchdown run that was called back at like the 15 due to a hold. I'm going to take the Giants on a long layoff here. I really hate this pick, but, I mean, what have the Falcons done to give me any sort of confidence?
To me, it's the same for both. What have the Giants really done to give me any confidence in the fact?
Right, but I got to make a pick. You're making me make a pick.
Look, you're getting a field goal plus the hook. I'm taking the Falcons here. I really think the offense. Despite what you said about Matt Ryan, which is hilariously bad. The fact is they still put up 25 points on that Tampa Bay defense, which, again, caveat that with they're probably not the top 3 defense like they looked like at the end of last year. probably going to play to a top 8 level. Having said that, I think they're going to continue to get better and better offensively, mainly because the bar is so low, but also because Arthur Smith is going to continue to figure out, given that he's a very smart guy, what works for this offense. Alternatively, I don't think the Giants really benefit because I don't really think that coaching staff is competent enough to take advantage of extra time. So I'm going to take the Falcons plus 3.5. I'm going to throw this on your radar for upset of the week.
Well, I want you to know that last week in an Arthur Smith offense, the Falcons ran 20 times for 55 yards.
It's the Tampa Bay rush defense. Nobody can run on them.
Well, if this Atlanta offense is going to succeed, you're going to have to run the ball better than they are.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think we both sort of like the Giants defense, right? So that's kind of where I'm landing on this.
If I had to just randomly rank them, I would say probably between 12 and 14.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's probably about the level of this Atlanta offense.
Sure. So
nice to see Kyle Pitts going 5 for 73 last week, though.
Yeah, this is his week.
His week to what?
To hit 100. There you go.
Oh, is that going to be your week-to-week bet?
Yeah, let's throw it out there. Get it out of the way.
Oh, boy. All right.
Next game up, Cincinnati Bengals on the road to face Pittsburgh Steelers. Bengals may have to throw that week 1 win out the window after last week, but tough road game maybe. I don't know what to make of it. On the road to face Pittsburgh Steelers, minus 4.5. And Steelers' offense has looked significantly challenged, given that Big Ben's arm may be completely useless. We may be looking at final year Peyton Manning type stuff. I just can't back the Steelers team against a team like the Bengals that is capable of throwing. And I would say the Steelers defense, very sound rush defense, sound front seven. I like the defense overall, probably around 8 to 10 for me in the ranking. But man, can they be beaten deep. And the fact that the Bengals can go 3 wide at least, I think Higgins could have a big game. I think any of their wide receivers could have a big game and at least be able to put up points. That front seven for the Bengals is slightly better than last year, and which is a little bit surprising to me. The Hendrickson signing is looking to pay off. So I just think getting the points when the Steelers are going to struggle to put up 17 points, I think the Bengals can get to 13 or 14. So I'll take the Bengals plus the points.
I'm with you with the Bengals. I don't like anything I've seen from the Steelers offense at all. Deontay Johnson is currently questionable with a knee injury that Tomlin did say is looking better, but not to be confused with great.
Yikes.
Yeah. And so it's like, so it looks like a knee? What does that mean? And also Roethlisberger's tending to a left pectoral injury that will affect his preparation. So, I mean, that's something to be cognizant of as you're looking through these. I expect this line to probably go down to 3.5. I'm going to take the Bengals here. Joe Burrow did not look very good last week. Kind of salvaged his day at the end, but I think but the only problem here is, can the Bengals give Burrow any time at all to throw? But if they can connect on 2 long plays, and he's hit Jamar Chase for 2 long touchdowns these first 2 weeks, I think you're right. If they can get to 14, this line should come into play.
Yeah, and given that we're halfway through the slate, I don't want to double lock later, so I'm going to go ahead and lock the Bengals plus 4.5.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to lock the Patriots.
Okay. All right, next game up, Arizona Cardinals 2-0, one of the 4 undefeated teams, I believe, on the road to face Jacksonville Jaguars 0-2.
Aren't there like 7 2-0 teams?
Are there 7? I guess everybody's just been hyping up the 4 surprising ones that are 2-0. Jacksonville Jaguars 0-2. Of course, One of the, I might say the worst team. I don't know. Jaguars or Jets? Who's had the worst 2 weeks to start?
Well, the Jags got blown out in week 1, and I can't even remember what they did last week. They got blown out again, right?
By the Broncos, yeah.
Yeah. The Jets, week 1 was not bad, right? I'm gonna say the Jags.
Okay, Jags here plus 7.5 home underdogs.
Yeah, the Jets only lost by 5 in week 1. They only lost by 19 in week 2. Yeah. Despite 4 interceptions.
Might not look so bad in hindsight, losing in Carolina by 5. Who do you like in this one?
I'm not taking the Jaguars until further notice. Give me the Cardinals. That's where I'm at. The Jaguars have literally not done anything well. Until they can show any sort of consistency on either side of the ball, I want no part of the Jags.
Here's the problem I'm having with the Cardinals so far. I think, of course, every team that's a touchdown, 6.5 or more favorite is going to be a contender for the parlay buster theory. And I think for me, this is as strong a contender as any of them. I think we've seen Kyler make some really, really risky decisions and just so happened to get away with them the first 2 weeks. Of course, week 1, huge advantage with a Tennessee Titans staff that had COVID, caught them completely unprepared. Week 2, very much should have lost the game last week, right? Just some terrible coaching by Kingsbury, clock management, terrible risky decisions by Murray. I think at some point it's going to come back to bite them. And the fact is their secondary cannot cover anybody. They got torched by all 3 wide receivers for the Vikings. And given the fact those are 3 talented wide receivers, depending on how you feel about Osborne, I think the fact that the Jaguars they do have 2 competent wide receivers in Marvin Jones, DJ Chark.
Come on, let's hear it. Do it.
I'm taking the Jaguars. It's my second lock of the week.
Oh, no.
Strong contender for upset of the week from me. I believe it's second in the eliminator pool in terms of picks.
Oh, boy.
And to me, that just screams upset value. Because I would not be shocked, Kyle. I would not be shocked if this turns into a shootout and the Jaguars are just throwing all over the Cardinals. Cardinals are throwing all over the Jags. And it comes down, it's like a 28-24 game, and Kyler throws another pick. And then that puts the Jaguars in the position to steal the game.
Well, you know who else is throwing a lot of picks? One Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, he's looked really good and then really bad at times.
He's made some breathtaking throws, and he's made some, wow, you're a rookie throws.
I think he has the number 1 rate of most percentage of uncatchable passes, which is surprising. I would have thought it'd be somebody like Zach Wilson, given the fact that the Jaguars have, I would say, closer to an average offensive line, not like the Jets who have a bottom 5. So we're going to flag that for upset of the week. Next game up, the New York Jets, as we just mentioned, they're 0-2 on the road to face the Denver Broncos, 2-0. Broncos here minus 10.5, and I have not mentioned it yet, but over here on the right side of my screen, you probably can't see it, I've got the Action Network pulled up, and I've got the percentage of money filtered of bets. And number 1 and number 2, we've got the Cardinals. 94% of money at this time is coming in on the Cardinals. Second, 92% of money is coming in on the Broncos. So a lot of people laying down the points for the Cards and the Broncos. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Who do you like in this one?
Call me a sucker. I'm really like the Broncos. I like everything I've seen out of the Broncos these first 2 weeks. Teddy Bridgewater has been great. He's been one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the league so far. He's throwing the ball downfield, which is great to see, something he's never done. And then on the flip side, we just watched Zach Wilson melt down against the Patriots. Now he's going to walk into Mile High against a really good Broncos defense and play well, or at least competently. I don't expect him to throw 4 interceptions again, but he can certainly throw 2. And without Mekhi Becton, like, he's just a sitting duck back there against Von Miller and company. So I think Bradley Chubb is going to miss this game, but I don't think it really matters with that secondary back there. So I'm going to take the Broncos. Go ahead and call me a sucker.
I don't blame you either way. This one's another tough one for me because, you pointed out the struggles with the offense. I think the underlying factor here is how good the Jets' defense has been. I thought they wouldn't have any secondary and would just get really thrown all over, considering that the Panthers have probably a little bit better than average offense, and they held them to 20-21 in week 1.
19.
Thanks. And then last week, who did they even play last week?
The Patriots.
Yeah. And I just think this defense should keep this a low-scoring game. And if this is a low-scoring game, like 21-10, 21-13, I'll take the 10.5. I understand Teddy puts the team in such a good position because he's not going to turn the ball over, so the defense Jets can't really as much take advantage of that. But I think if they're just able to limit the Broncos offensively and just keep them down to 17 to 20 points, I think the Jets alternatively can get to 10, 13 points. And I think, ironically enough, funny enough, that's going to be enough to cover 10.5. So I'm taking the Jets plus a 10.
All right. Good for you. Be a contrarian. I don't blame you whatsoever, but man, it was rough watching Zach Wilson.
I think everything considered, we're going to have to remember, like, this is a tough stretch. It's tough 3 games to start the schedule. Playing against the Panthers defense, which could very easily be top 10. Playing against the Patriots defense, which for rookie quarterbacks should be top 5. And then playing this Broncos defense, which is top 5. Like, it should only get easier after this week because this is a brutal stretch. Next,
I think since 2000 there have been like 6 games where a quarterback's thrown 4 interceptions and no touchdowns, and the last 3 to do it are Mark Sanchez, Sam Darnold, and Zach Wilson. What do they all have in common, Lewis?
Jets quarterbacks.
Yeah. Did the Jets whiff again?
Wait, Nathan Peterman wasn't on there?
I think
he threw a touchdown.
There was probably some other of like had to play the whole game because he got benched at halftime,
okay.
Right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and they all probably played the Patriots in those games.
Yeah.
Next game up, Miami Dolphins with more than likely Jacoby Brissett starting on the road to face Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders are minus 4.5, 2-0. One of the highlights of the first 2 weeks of the season, of course, taking care of the Ravens in week 1 and going on the road to take care of the Steelers. They love beating up on the AFC North. Now they're back home in Vegas. Only minus 4.5. This feels like a trap almost because the Dolphins' defense has been sneaky good. They held the Bills to 14, and I don't know if they just got exhausted or what the case may be, or the Bills just figured them out. But that's the thing is this game feels very similar to last week where the Raiders, much like the Bills, pretty much abandoned the run. They don't have any use for it. They're not going to be good at it, so why do it? And the Raiders, without Jacobs last week, did that, and it worked out well against the Steelers. And that probably, you weren't going to run on the Steelers with Peyton Barber anyways. So I think the difference is that the strength for the Dolphins is the secondary. The weakness is the rush defense. That's the flip side of the Steelers. So does that mean that the Dolphins game, facing an offense very similar to the offense they faced last week, is going to turn out the same way? Tough to say. I'm just going to roll with the Raiders here. They seemed like the better team. They've pass rush is actually coming together. It looks like they actually have a good front four. They're only 4.5 at home. I'm just going to take it.
Yeah, I'm going to lock the Raiders. They've been probably the most impressive team to me so far through 2 weeks. They're not beating themselves. I mean, they tried really hard to beat themselves against the Ravens in week 1. But I think that was just kind of, here's our first game ever with fans in Las Vegas. It's Monday night. Weird things happen in those West Coast Monday night games in week 1. I don't want any part of Jacoby Brissett being super conservative and them not. I don't have a lot of faith in the Dolphins right now. The Raiders' offense has been really good. Derek Carr's looked great. So I'm going to roll with the Raiders here at home.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how long the Raiders keep it up because I like the surprises they've thrown, and I wonder how much Gruden's got in the bag. Next game up, the Tampa Bay Bucs on the road to face the Los Angeles.
Okay. I'm sorry. I got to clean up that stat I gave you.
Okay.
There have been 6 0-touchdown, 4-interception games in the past 4 seasons.
Oh, okay.
And 3 of them have been by Jets quarterbacks.
Okay. Does it say if they played the Patriots?
No.
Okay. Probably. That would be my guess. At least Darnold, that ghost game, that has to be one of them, right?
Yeah, it is. And then he also did it again, and then Sanchez did it once. So.
Oh, Sanchez. That was a thing for a period. Tampa Bay Bucs 2-0 on the road face Los Angeles Rams 2-0. Rams are -1.5. Bucs plus the points on the road. One team's walking away 3-0. This eerily reminiscent of the Bucs Chiefs kind of hype we got last year, where you get 2 very, very, very hot octane games, octane teams. But Tom Brady never played in LA, funny enough. Who do you like in this one?
Anytime Tom Brady's getting points, I will take those points, and I'm going to lock the Bucs +1.5. That's all I have to say, Lewis. Anytime Tom Brady gets points, you take Tom Brady.
Yeah. Which sidebar, I think Tom Brady, Bill Simmons brought this up, might be sneakily trying to set the record for touchdown passes in a season.
He's only on pace for 76.
I wonder if he thought to himself before the season, this extra game means that there's going to be a lot of offensive records broken. So if he's going to be the benchmark for one of those, he has to do it this year, or at least because you never know what's going to happen next year. So why not just come out gunslinging? Don't even try to run the ball inside the 5. Having said that, I think they have plenty of weapons. I don't really know who to trust outside of Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Darnold. But the thing is I think if anybody has an offensive line that can kind of slow down Darnold, it's the Tampa Bay Bucs. I think they have plenty of weapons outside of whoever Ramsey's covering, which should be just fine. And I think alternatively, the Rams are still slightly overrated. Still got that shine from week 1. Which was really close with the Bears up through halftime. And then week 2, let the Colts with Wentz and his busted ankles get within 3. I think the Bucs are just the better team. So, yeah, I'm with you there. Both on the Bucs. Next game up.
Here's just something to keep an eye on. And I'm going to bring this up again next week. Tom Brady is 499 yards away from breaking. Well, he's actually 500 yards. If he gets 500 yards, he will have broken Drew Brees' passing yards record. He's going to do it next week in Foxborough.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's going to be that's
incredible.
Just a lot of fun.
What a coincidence. This is crazy.
Yeah.
All right, next game up. This one.
What a wild line.
These are 2 fan bases that probably could not be more frustrated on a constant basis with their team, no matter how successful. Seattle Seahawks on the road to face Minnesota Vikings. Vikings here at +1.5. Kyle, we had mentioned in the preseason, Mike Zimmer, really this team could go sideways and could be on the hot seat very soon. Do you think they are trending in that direction? Because 0-3 here, and I feel like we're 2 games away from getting fired.
How do you just brick a 37-yard field goal?
How do you not try to get more yardage to get closer?
Fair. Same thing could be said about the Cowboys last week.
It worked out, though.
Yeah, good. Great. No, it was terrible.
McCarthy.
Oh, man. This is... What a line this is. Yes, if the Vikings start out 0-5, probably rip Zimmer. That's very likely. I guess I'm just going to take the Seahawks and chalk. The Seahawks never play a normal game. Just they don't do it. Every game is ridiculous. So this is probably going to be like they're down 2 and then hit a field goal to win by 1, and I end up losing the spread in the spread anyway. So I don't know. I'm going to close my eyes and pick the Seahawks here. It's pure feeling. Their offense has played pretty well, but I don't know what happened. They just fell apart. And, they couldn't stop Derrick Henry. Few teams can stop Derrick Henry. And now they get Dalvin Cook, which is scary. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't. This game is going to be a roller coaster. That's about the only thing I can say for certain.
I wonder what the odds are on Seattle to just win by 1, because what you described would just be really on par with both of these teams, wouldn't it? It's just the Vikings are up, Seattle's playing their wonky game. It's both reading off the script for both teams, and then
there's a pass that goes right through a Vikings player's hands that would have won the game, and it turns into like a 35-yard gain. It
just has to happen. There's no way around it. Both of them play up to what we know them to be. Seattle has to win by 1, and the Vikings would then have lost week 1 by 3 in overtime after a fumble by Dalvin Cook, in week 2 off of a comeback after a blown lead and a missed field goal, and then for week 3 to end like that would just be chef's kiss. You know what I'm saying? Just completely perfect. I'm taking the Vikings plus 1.5 because I feel like that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a great game. Seahawks should be able to throw, which I think we've both been in agreement. Everybody said this Vikings defense was going to be drastically improved, and I think we both were very hesitant to see that happen because I don't understand how the pieces were already there. Granted, they did have a lot of injuries last week, but still, let me see healthy players and a competent defense. And, given the fact that Lockett has been on fire, Metcalf hasn't even done much, and he's very capable of doing so, there should be a lot of fireworks in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Thank goodness. Thank goodness the Cowboys aren't playing at this time, so I'll be able to watch. Mm-hmm. Devote all my attention to this crazy game.
Next game up, the Green Bay Packers coming off the Monday night win, shaking off week 1's loss on the road to face San Francisco 49ers, 2-0, minus 3.5, one of the better defenses in the first 2 weeks of the season. I'm taking the Niners here. I thought about this game a lot, and I thought it's almost... Your initial reaction is okay, the Packers played pretty well, but then I think you really heavily scrutinize the first 2 games of the season. And I know you probably want to just throw away the Saints game, but the fact is you had 2 very capable offensive lines between the Saints and the Lions, 2 top 10 offensive lines, in my opinion, move the ball basically at will. Saints did it all game, Lions did it for a half, and then Goff turned into Goff. Really, I think they're that 4th down conversion away from just staying in that game, but they blew it. The Niners have a top 10-ish, maybe solidly top 10 offensive line, and I know we've said running backs don't matter, so plug in running back XYZ, and show me a Packers rush defense that's going to stop that. On top of that, the one concern I have is the Niners really don't have much of a secondary. So we could see potential shootout here, but I still think we get a flashback to the 2019 NFC title game, whether that's Eli Mitchell or whoever the running back's going to be for the Niners. I think they control the game with the running the ball, and that Packers defense, I'm out. Not loving it, and I think that is really the difference maker for me.
Yeah, talk about seeing ghosts. Raheem Mostert just scored another rushing touchdown on the Packers. I'm with you on the Niners here. I'm kind of shocked to see that 65% of people have picked the Packers here.
It's the optics.
Yeah, I know, but just normally the favorites have the higher percentage, just in general.
Right. I think it's a bait.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to run the ball on the Packers. I want Garoppolo to play better. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it's just Kyle Shanahan in prime time against the Packers just brings back so many memories of so many Packers running with their back to the camera, just chasing running backs, and in like 2011 chasing Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the Niners as well.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, is if a team can stay balanced against that Packers defense, it's 10 times better. Because you really should, if you can keep running the ball, you'll be successful. Once the Lions fell behind and then Goff had to start throwing, it was just immediately downhill.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Sunday night. On to the Monday night game, which, do I have two locks or three?
I just assumed you were going to lock the Eagles right here.
Yeah. Well, how many do you have?
I have 3.
Okay. Yeah.
It's okay. It's wide open for you.
Well, I'm trying to decide if I want the Eagles or the Niners. Give me the Niners. I feel more comfortable with that one.
Oh, you hadn't said your third lock. I was like, oh my God, he's going to lock the Eagles.
No. Monday night game. Philadelphia Eagles 1-1 on the road to face Cowboys 1-1. Fight for lead in the NFC East here on the line. I guess if the Washington football team pulls the upset, they could be 2-1 as well. But the Cowboys here -3.5. We had discussed earlier about a potential revisiting the corollary that we had several years ago with Tony Romo and Jason Garrett, where you back the Cowboys as dogs and you fade them as the favorites. I believe I saw a stat where McCarthy is currently 1-7 against the spread as a favorite. So I'm not really sure how that makes sense. They're just too complacent maybe when they're the favorites and very hungry when they're the dogs. But I just feel like this Eagles team plus 3.5 get the field goal plus the hook. I think in that Cowboys defense, I mean, the Chargers were moving the ball up and down all over them, and they still managed to get so lucky with the touchdowns called back. I mean, I feel like you play that game 10 times and the Chargers probably win 6. So I think it's a little bit of a distracting game. So Eagles have a competent defense, more so than the Chargers. They should be able to run all over the Cowboys. Give me the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm going to take the Eagles getting 3.5. I'm going to make them my dog of 3.5 or more to win outright.
Ooh.
So, yeah. Cowboys just seem to consistently, especially as favorites, just kind of lay down in primetime. So I mean, the Cowboys just won their first game since 2018, scoring fewer than 30 points.
Yeah.
That's a wild stat, Lewis. They hadn't won a game in which they'd scored fewer than 30 points since 2018.
Defense has been so bad for years.
Yeah. This is going to be just a weird game. The Cowboys, a lot like the Seahawks, never play a normal game either. Eagles do weird things. They tried to run the Philly special last week, and it got blown up. The Eagles, just kind of shot themselves in the foot. They had that 91-yard pass.
Yeah.
They were up 7-0. They're down inside the 5, and they come away with nothing. And that kind of just flipped the entire game around, and they only scored I think they were about to be up 10-0 if they had scored a touchdown right there. I don't remember the exact sequence of events, but they would have been up by 2 scores. They come away with nothing. They only score one more time late in the fourth quarter when the game's essentially over. I like them in this spot coming off a loss against the Cowboys, who are coming off a really nice win now at home as favorites, where I have zero trust in them.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I agree with everything you said. All right, so that wraps up the week. So you want to recap the locks, and then we'll do Eliminator?
Yeah, I've got the Patriots, Raiders, and Bucs, 2 favorites and a dog. You've got the Bengals, Jags, and Niners, 2 dogs and 1 favorite.
All right.
Thursday, we both have Carolina, so just run for the hills. Yeah, go ahead, Survivor. Who you got?
I am taking... Crap, I just had them. I'm taking the Panthers. I'm just getting it out Thursday night, getting it out of the way. I understand, to lose on a primetime game going before the weekend is going to be brutal because that's just going to be an embarrassment to carry through the weekend. But I really alternatively wanted to take the Bills. They're probably the other team I felt comfortable with, but they play the Texans next week, so I'm going to save that for week 4.
The 2 best choices for me are Baltimore and Denver. I'm going to take Denver because I have more confidence. This will be the only time I have a lot of confidence in Denver probably this year.
Yeah, so I think at some point the matchups have really been in their favor, and so I think they're going to eventually get overhyped just because they're winning the games that they're playing. They don't pick their opponents, so I think at some point they're due for a letdown.
I need your underdog pick for a win.
I'll take the Jaguars.
Oh, I can't believe you're not taking the Falcons. Okay.
No. Why take the easy way out?
Oh, my God. All right. Highest scoring team, you won last week, so who you got?
Oh, man. Give me... Goodness gracious. Give me the Niners.
Wow. Niners. Okay.
That Packers defense looked awful.
Yeah, I get it. Wow. Okay.
Plus,
I guess
you notice.
I guess I'm taking.
Sorry, go.
I'm taking the Cardinals.
Yeah. We didn't mention this, but it's very, very obvious that teams are targeting Kevin King, and he has to be one of the biggest glaring weaknesses on a defense. And it's just shocking that he continues to play out there. They do not have any better options. I don't understand. But I think the funny thing is that the Niners, I don't even know if they have an offensive weapon to put opposite Alexander that can really take advantage of that. But it might not even matter. So,
okay. Your week-to-week bet is Kyle Pitts 100-plus receiving yards. I'm going to go way out on a limb here. Seahawks Vikings combined for 7 or more passing touchdowns.
Holy cow. No Dalvin Cook rushing?
I mean, look, Lewis, this game's probably headed for 38-35.
Wow, okay.
It'd be a lot of scoring.
Thought you would have tied that into your Cardinals, maybe 4 passing touchdowns.
I can't throw everything on the Cardinals. It's a bad idea. If the Cardinals go down, then just everything would get blown up.
Yeah, that just flies in the face of your Kingsbury criticism.
Yeah, can't have that either.
Which I think I did not mention this either, small maybe sneaky advantage is that Kingsbury probably runs a lot of college concepts, and Urban Meyer, almost maybe as much as anybody, probably understands them. I don't know if he can really take advantage of them. And then again, if the Jags lose by 30, this is all going to sound stupid, but something else to consider.
You're right, man.
Okay. Anything else before we get out of here?
I don't think so.
Okay, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at TPP Sweet Lou. Kyle is at KVerska7. And of course, if our picks change over the course of the week, I will try and update those. So follow me for any updates.
He will delete this video and post one of himself again.
I didn't update my change from Lions to Packers last week, so I apologize. But I'm going to try and stay on top of that going forward. And other than that, hit that thumbs up, subscribe. Appreciate all the love. Leave any comments if you care to share. Other than that, we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
I will do better than 2-14 or your money back.